the holidays. They're supposed to be the most wonderful time of the year, right? A time for joy, connection, all those cherished memories. But if you're anything like me, it can also become this whirlwind of obligations, of rushing, and of stress. Well, in this explainer, we're going to dive into one family story, how they just hit the brakes on all that holiday chaos and decided to reclaim their time, their sanity, and most importantly, their presence with each other. So let's start with the dream. This quote right here, it's what we all hope for, a season of peace, of actually slowing down and just enjoying the company of the people we love. It's basically the picture-perfect version of the holidays that we see in the movies. But let's get real for a second. Does your holiday season actually feel like you're slowing down? Or does it feel more like a frantic race to the finish line, trying to juggle everyone's expectations, all the events, and a to-do list that's about a mile long? For the family in our story, the reality was, well, it was a world away from that ideal. And this brings us to what our source calls the holiday obligation trap. This is really where the problem starts. It's that feeling that you have to do certain things, not because you truly want to, but because it's just expected. And this trap, it creates a pretty vicious cycle. This slide just lays out that disconnect perfectly, doesn't it? On one side, you've got the expectation. Be everywhere, see everyone, cook everything. But the reality? It's just rushing, stress, and a whole lot of anxiety. You end up so busy just checking boxes that you completely miss the actual moment you're living in. And to make this super concrete, here was their specific situation. Just picture this, one holiday, a single day. They were expected to visit both sides of the family, which of course meant preparing 2 different dishes to bring along. I mean, it just becomes a lot, really, really fast. It's a recipe for total burnout, not connection. So stuck in this cycle of stress, they hit a turning point. They realized that if they wanted their holidays to feel different, they had to actually make them different. They decided to stop being passive passengers and start actively designing the traditions that felt right for their little family. And what they did was remarkably simple, but so powerful. First, they just reflected on their own childhoods. What did they love? What maybe didn't they love so much? Then they talked about it. As partners, what do we want to keep? What has to change? From that conversation, they identified the core problems, and finally, they decided on new traditions that actually lined up with their values. And here's the crucial part. This was never about rejecting their extended family. Not at all. It was about prioritizing their own well-being and the quality of their time together. Their motivation was crystal clear. Less stress, less anxiety, and more genuine present moments with their kids. It was all about quality over quantity. So after all that reflection, they came up with a solution that was simple, practical, and honestly, a complete game changer for them. They called it the Alternating Holiday Plan. And here it is, the core of their new plan in all its beautiful simplicity. Instead of trying to cram visits to both families into one chaotic day, they just decided to alternate. One year, they celebrate with Family A on the holiday itself. The next year, it's Family B's turn. Simple as that. So here's how it works in practice. One family gets the big celebration on the actual holiday. Then they celebrate with the other family on a totally different day when things are much calmer. And here's the real key. They decided that if schedules just don't line up one year, it's okay. The whole goal shifted from just showing up to actually having quality, meaningful conversations. Okay, so making the plan is one thing, but then you have to communicate it to your loved ones, and that is often the scariest step, right? I mean, how do you tell your family that you're changing decades of tradition? For them, thankfully, this step was made so much easier because of what she calls having an understanding family. Her family members just got it. They understood the pressures of raising young kids, and they supported the decision. And having that foundation of understanding was, in her words, huge in making this whole transition a success. So, what was the end result of this big change? What was the payoff from making what was, let's face it, a pretty difficult choice? Well, it all came down to one thing: the immense value of just being present. Just look at these outcomes. By simplifying their schedule, they got more mental space to actually connect with people. And that led to deeper, more thought-provoking conversations, beyond just how's work. They felt more grounded, they were able to truly enjoy the moments, and they gained back so much of that precious time and energy. Now, this choice wasn't without its tough moments. She's honest. She admits to feeling sad sometimes, that little pang of feeling like you're missing out. But then she follows it up with this incredibly powerful realization. In the end, she doesn't regret it for a second because of how much they've gained back in return. It's a trade off she would make every single time. And that really brings us to the final thought here. This family's journey from chaos to calm wasn't about finding some perfect, one size fits all solution. It was about finding what was perfect for them. And it leaves us with a question to think about. What is one change, maybe even a small one, that you could make to bring a little more meaning and a little less stress to your own holidays?